We are just 3 days away from Christmas and the start of Hanukkah. Congress has gone home, but is last week's chaos on Capitol Hill an omen of what is ahead in 2025? Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzales is here in studio to answer that. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Margaret. Thanks for having me.
So we just saw turmoil within the party over the past few days after President-elect Trump and Elon Musk scuttled this bipartisan deal, then demanded another deal that couldn't get enough Republican support to get over the finish line. Then we have this emergency stopgap measure that only takes us through mid-March. You were one of 34 Republicans to vote against it. Why?
It's pretty simple. My constituents were against the CR just as much as I was against the CR. It's been a tough week, though. It started with the tragic shooting in Madison, Wisconsin. I've worked in a very bipartisan manner to make sure we have a national strategy that prevents against some of the school shootings that are occurring. I've been working with others to get that done. I think that's important. And then in the House, of course, we had this messy bill that was put on the floor. It started with a 1,500-page bill. In my eyes, there's no doubt that there's a sickness in D.C., and that sickness isn't going to be cured with these big, long, pork-filled bills. You do got to give President Trump a lot of credit, though. He was able to whittle that down to 116 pages. Once again, the reason I voted no is I think CRs are terrible. They do nothing but kick the can down the road. Let's fast forward to March. Do you think we're going to be any closer to coming up with a spending deal then than we are now? I don't think so.
But if the government had shut down, the Border Patrol agents who live in your district wouldn't receive paychecks.
Right. That's why we should have done our job instead of just saying, hey, give us 3 more months and I promise you in 3 months we're going to do our job. I mean, we've ran that play before. In my eyes, you use Christmas, you use New Year's, you lock everybody in a room and you say, let's get it done now. There's also a bigger danger to this, too, is if we're not funding the government long term, now all of a sudden you're telling the government you have to spend a year's worth of money in 6 months or 3 months. That's not fair to any of these agencies as well. So basically, it was a vote on my end to say, let's do our job.
Right, which the Republicans who are in leadership had failed to get some of those bills done. In fact, Speaker Johnson chose to go this route with the CR. But I want to ask you about the dynamic here because it's confusing, frankly. I mean, Elon Musk is tweeting against bipartisan deals negotiated and led by the Speaker of the House. What role exactly is he playing here?
It's kind of interesting. We have a president, we have a vice president, we have a speaker. It feels like as if Elon Musk is our prime minister. And I spoke with Elon a couple of times this week. I think many of us...
Unelected.
Well, unelected, but I mean, he has a voice. And I think large part of that voice is a reflection of the voice of the people. Once again, a 1,500-page bill, how does that pass the smell test? It's absolutely wrong. It's what's wrong with this place. So we have to get back to regular order. The other part of it, too, is while House Republicans were fighting over this spending bill, guess what Senate Democrats were doing? They were ensuring that President Biden got his 235th liberal judge over the finish line. That's why it's so important that House Republicans stay united, stay laser focused on delivering on a President Trump agenda next year.
But Republicans in the House are clearly not united. And it was Speaker Johnson who led that bipartisan deal. Do you support him if he's standing for re-election? Should he still lead the party if you're saying he was leading in the wrong direction with a 15-page initial funding deal?
Yeah, and I do support Speaker Johnson. I think he's done a fantastic job keeping us all together. It's like feral cats on the House, right? So that's a tough job to begin with. But the fact that he was able to work with President Trump in order to whittle it down to a little over 100 pages, the fact that he was able to work with with Elon Musk and some of these other folks, other members, to find a solution just goes to prove that he's found a way. But this can't be the norm. This cannot be the norm. Once again, that's the reason why I voted against the CR is this cannot be the norm. We have to get back to regular order and pass our appropriations bills. Homeland security is certainly important to us. There's other things that are going on in the world.
So because the Republican majority now is so thin, it will also be thin in the new Congress. But right now, any missed vote gets a lot of attention. Congresswoman Kay Granger hasn't cast a vote since July, and there was a local reporter in Dallas who looked into this and found the 81-year-old has been living in a local memory care and assisted living facility for some time. That was not shared with the public. Were you and others in the Texas delegation aware?
I wasn't aware. I think there's no doubt a lot of us knew that she was gaining in age, like a lot of members do. And sadly, some of these members wait until it's too long, things have gone too far.
And leadership allowed for it?
I think it's maybe, I'm not too sure what leadership knew on it or didn't know on it. I'd say on the other side of the aisle is the same thing. I mean, we saw what happened on the Senate side, with Senator Feinstein and some of these others that have missed votes for a long time. I think this gets back to the root of it. Congress should do its job. And if you can't do your job, maybe you shouldn't be there.
Well, she wasn't there. And apparently it went either unnoticed or just not acknowledged to the public, which certainly raises eyebrows. I need to get to the border because that is, 800 miles of the border in your district. Border Patrol had fewer than 50,000 apprehensions at the southern border last month. That's a Biden-era low. Does that mean coming into office that essentially the crisis has been fixed before Donald Trump even arrives and that it's not as big of a project as initially thought?
Oh, no, it's a huge project. And while the Biden administration has started to do some things right, the Trump administration is going to do everything right in this manner. And I'll tell you why. This is why it's important. Earlier this week, I had a classified briefing on the worldwide threats to our homeland. I won't share some of the sensitive stuff, but I'll share some of the open source stuff in Syria. A lot of us are rooting for a free Syria. Free Syria, it brings a lot of opportunities for stability in that region, but it also brings a national security threat. Assad was a bad guy. He imprisoned a lot of folks, sometimes wrongfully. Some of those folks are terrorists. Now they are loose. Where are they? Where are they going? Well, let's bring it back to the southern border. This year, the Biden administration has apprehended 600 Syrians. Does that mean all those Syrians are terrorists? Of course not. But do we know who these people are and are they coming into our country? This is something that President Trump is going to get to the bottom of.
So you want to halt refugee admissions like Donald Trump is talking about? You want to block travel from Muslim-majority countries? Like the Trump team is talking about?
I want the president to enforce the laws that we have on the books. That's simple.
So no, those aren't laws on the books. Refugees are accepted in the United States of America.
And they should be. Right? I want us to follow our laws, right? And if we need to make changes to our laws, Congress should be the body to make those changes. And in my eyes, we can both protect those that are warm and welcoming. We want people to come and live the American dream. Those that are fleeing political persecution, but we also have to go after the criminals and the terrorists.
Understood. Tony Gonzales, good to have you here.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.